buddies. Thanks for joining me again today. This is the Core Crusher 2000. So over the next several weeks, I'll be filming and uploading different sections of this series. And all told, it'll be about 75 core crushing postures, more if you take all of the advancements, and it'll represent about 90 minutes of work. You can do them in the sections in which I upload them, or you can take a run at the whole thing by watching them back to back for maximum discomfort. So without further ado, let's get this fucker done. Start on your hands and your knees. We're gonna take cat and cow. You need to warm up the core to let it know we're getting ready to work. This is take 3 for me, so I'm already warm. If you haven't already been doing something, make sure that you're staying with me and not advancing ahead of me. Now we're going to take it from downward facing dog to all fours. And if you don't have any low back problems, you can take it from downward facing dog to upward facing dog. Just make sure you're not locking out your elbows. From here, we're going to come out into a plank. Shoulder taps. Just take one hand, tap your opposite shoulder, but keep your hips parallel to the floor. A lot of people will do something like this, and we don't want that. We want your hips nice and level. Again, if you're not already warm, stay with me. We're taking an advancement in just a moment. You want to make sure you're safe and you don't go too hard too fast. There's plenty of shitty stuff left to do, so don't worry. Now, if you like, you can lift the foot of the hand that you're tapping with. Now let's go from plank to down dog, and we'll tap your right hand to your left ankle, plank, down dog, left hand to right ankle, plank, not up dog, plank, tap, plank, tap, plank, tap. If the ankle is too far away, you can always use your knee or your hip. And bring this all the way down. You can have a child's pose, have a touch of water. The next thing we're doing is a turbo dog, and then we're going to take it into the monkey dance. So again, if you have issues with your wrists, you might need to make some modifications. You're always welcome to do that. Let's come in first to turbo dog. So stick with me. Don't jump into the monkey dance if you're not already warm. So you're taking your knees off the ground and hovering your shins parallel to the floor. pulling your belly up away from the floor. And rest. So you can come back into turbo dog, or you can take the monkey dance. We're going to take your right foot and your left hand up off the floor as you come into stargazer on each side. So you start in turbo dog, then I'm going to take my right foot, kick it out in front of me, my right knee is straight, my left knee is bent, and I have my left fingertips on my left shoulder. Come back through to turbo dog and stargazer. My left knee is straight, my right knee is bent, my right fingertips are at my shoulder, turbo dog. And let's bring it down. So now we're going to take the up, up, down, downs. So you're going to come into a plank or a modified plank. I'm going to come into modified plank since I have to speak and I can't breathe properly. You're going to come down onto one forearm, your right forearm, and then your left forearm. Your right palm and your left palm. Then your left forearm, your right forearm, your left palm, your right palm, right forearm, left forearm, right palm, left palm, left forearm, right forearm, left palm, right palm, right forearm, left forearm, right palm, left palm, and so on. I'm aware that I'm doing this with fairly poor posture. So this is a do as I say, not as I do situation. And we'll release. You're going to push that all the way back, and we're taking the creepy crawler, which is essentially child's pose to chaturanga. Not child's pose to plank to chaturanga, just child to chaturanga. So if you need to see the modifications, the baby bear and the mama bear version, go find the Plank-a-Palooza video, it's in there. So we're going to extend your arms all the way out. And come through, hover for chaturanga, and bring it all the way back. Do one more. And back up to a plank or a modified plank. We're going to take hula hips. So you're going to keep your shoulders parallel to the floor, and you're just going to drop one hip and then the other, like a washing machine agitator. So to be clear, you're not doing something like this, because that'll jack up your back. You really feel this in your obliques. Let's take down dog, and we're going to kick up your right foot. Then you're going to come onto the ball of your left foot, bring the shoulders over your wrists, and your right knee to your left elbow. And then we'll change sides. The left foot up, the left knee to the right elbow, and back, and change. Right knee to left elbow, left knee to right elbow, right knee to left elbow, left knee to right elbow. And plank. Walk one foot off your mat, and then the other. So one thing that is important to not do is to bounce your hips while you're walking your plank. So we don't want this. We want you right here. And then bring it to center. If you can handle a little bit of impact, we can do the plank jacks. And there's 3 versions. So the first is to take both out, both in. Both out, both in, on the feet. Or you can do it with the hands. Or you can alternate hands and feet, or if you like, you can take a full plank jack, both hands, both feet. Those are hard to do, and they're not so nice on your wrists, so we don't do too many. We're going to come from down dog to wild thing. Kick up your right leg, bend your right knee, let your right heel move towards your left elbow. You can stop here, or you can drop your right foot all the way back. Push your hips up and forward. Your left knee is straight, your right knee is bent, and your right arm is up overhead. And let's take that on the other side. Wild thing, your left foot comes up, you bend your left knee, and let it sort of open up the front of your hip. You can stop there, or you can drop your foot all the way back and let that left arm come up. Your right knee is straight, your left knee is bent. Back to down dog. Now starfish. Your right leg comes up and it swings through to the outside of your left pinky. Then you drop your left toes to the left side of your mat and take the left arm up overhead. It looks like a wide-legged side plank, which you can do as an alternative. Bring it back, and on the other side. So that left foot's gonna cross underneath you and extend all the way out in front. Both knees are straight, and the hips are pushing up and forward as the right arm comes up overhead. And release to down dog, and take a child's pose. And you can hold this while I tell you where we're headed next. We're going to take anteater pose, then we're going to take crow to chaturanga, which is the opposite of the creepy crawl where we went child to chaturanga. Now we're going to go crow to chaturanga, backwards. And then we're going to do the chaturanga push-ups, and we're all done. If you've been doing all the advancements with me, by the end of this video, you'll have done 23 postures. If you've been sticking with the basics, you'll have done 15. So for anteater, I'm going to turn so that you can see what I'm doing. You might like to turn so that you have your hands on your mat. You start with a wide-armed plank, which you can hold as your baby bear. Then you're going to bring your humerus bones, your upper arms, parallel to the floor. A lot of people will try to do it like this, and that's not going to work. It's got to be up here like that. And then you're going to bring your knee to your elbow, and you look like a little anteater. So, wide-armed plank. Bend through the elbows. The right knee to the right elbow. Push out through your left toes and heel. Pull your belly up away from the floor. Imagine that there's a string at the small of your back that's lifting you up, and come out. We need to recalibrate completely before we change sides. There's really no good way to get into anteater, one side to the other. So it gives you a little break in between, and then you can come into wide arm plank. Upper arms parallel to the floor, left knee to left elbow. And bring it back. Coming from crow to chaturanga, the crow doesn't have to be perfect, and your feet don't even need to be up off the floor. The main thing is that you're gonna have most of your body weight going forward to begin with, and you're gonna have to work really hard. You have to lift your pelvis up and back to kick your feet out behind you. So it's more about the kick than it is about the crow. So if crow is something that is new or elusive to you, don't worry about it too much. Just get as much of your body weight going forward as you can, and you'll have to work against that momentum to kick your feet out. So if you can come into crow, go for it. And from here, drop your feet back. And you can scoop it up and back to child's pose. If you want to do one more or want to see that one more time, doing it that way is sort of hard for me. I did it with the knees on the outsides of my elbows. It can work a lot more smoothly if you have your knees under your elbows, or it doesn't at all. So I'll just do it the way I did before. And bring it down. Now for the chaturanga push-ups, you're going to want to be in a modified plank. Forearm planks won't work. So if your wrists are just done for the day, have yourself a child's pose while we're doing this. You're going to take your knees behind your hips so that your hips are in line with the rest of your spine. So you don't want you back here, I want you right here. And your elbows are not going to go out to the side like car doors that are open or like regular push-ups. They're going to come straight back, squeeze in, and you're going to hover, 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 and pull up with your belly button. And press it up and back to child's pose. So I want to thank you for joining me again. The next video in this series is another set of floor and plank. So get ready, stretch out your pecs, and I'll see you in the next video. Rock out with your core, guys.